So we charged everybody $10 a ticket and sold 420 tickets, so it was pretty good, close. And anyway, he came by, and part of his act was this segment he said called "Grow More Pot." And he talked about, did you know the original Declaration of Independence was written on, did you know George Washington is the biggest capitalist and biggest pot producer ever? And all these things. He said, well, it's the truth. And yet they don't tell you this stuff. He said, it's not at the Smithsonian. Why is that? He said, well, you know what I found? This book by Jack Herrera exposes the big conspiracy to suppress. And it was this book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I fucking tried to get it, and it was banned. I thought, how could that be? That's like the ultimate bad irony. The government bans the book about the conspiracy of the government trying to ban books and information. Right? And so I thought, well, that's... So I actually bought a half-page ad in the London Free Press saying, bringing in banned book, Jack Herrera's Emperor Wears No Clothes. And we brought Jack up to come and sign him as well. And we didn't get charged with that. I was actually pretty surprised. So I thought, well, I'm going to put the pedal to the metal here. Let's get the really explicit stuff. High Times, Grow Guides, every Ed Rosenthal book. And I got Ed Up stuff. And I got the Freak Brothers. I got obscene stuff, cartoon stuff. And I had Paul Mavridis come up and sign all his. And Ed came up and signed all his books. And Jack or Steve Hagar came by. We had a big, huge double weekend of him coming. I rented the art gallery. Meeting hall to have a massive dinner for Steve Hagar. We got like 200 people to show up. It was really pretty amazing.
I was just going to say, on that note, I believe it's $9,400. I read in one article you donated to the NDP. I mean, millions over the years.
Well, here's how that worked, though. I've given more to candidates than the party itself, but what happened in 2004, we spent $8,000 on 80,000 cards like this that we were giving out in key ridings to influence young people to vote for the NDP, and we put what Jack Layton said about marijuana.
And now, other NDP members.
Yeah, and other NDP members. Yeah,
she was great.
Yeah, and it was a great
pamphlet. John Layton actually appeared on Fox TV with you.
Oh, yeah. See, that's when he was cool.
The NDP was great.
That was when he was cool because he. And then all of a sudden, once the 2004 election came by and they did okay with Jack Layton, he got very conservative. Like, in other words, the things that made him more popular, he abandoned, right? His openness, his modernity, right? It's not radical anymore to suggest we legalize marijuana. 65% of the people in British Columbia want that, as well as 50% nationwide. And mostly people in cities, which is where the NDP does well. They don't do well in rural areas. Give up on that. That's never happened. The Conservatives are going to get every rural riding forever. Because that's who makes up those people, like immigrants with millions of kids, religious fundamentalists, blah, 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 and the other parties always split the vote in those rural ridings. So basically, Jack Layton's got to succeed in urban Canadian riding. That's where he's from, Toronto. Ideally, if he represented Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Regina, Saskatoon, urban centers. So anyway, we gave out 80,000 of these cards and spent $4,000, and I actually got convicted of violating the Election Act for doing that because I did not register as a third-party participant.
Wow.
So I'm the only person convicted under that law, by the way.
So as a Canadian, I like to refer myself as a Canadian patriot because my grandfather and father both fought in wars. So when I look at this, I think to myself, how must Mark feel when the Americans in 13 states are decriminalizing or repealing
but that on one hand is good and it's bad. My father was in the Royal Navy too, and I wrote about that in my Remembrance Day podcast. You can see that at noextra.net, cannabisculture.com, my podcast, my writings and readings from jail. Some of them were quite good. One I'm really proud of is podcast number 6. It's about Remembrance Day. Talks a lot about my father in the Royal Navy, and not so much about freedom, but it's funny how, in our family, my brother was a Christian minister, my nephew's gone to Afghanistan, my father's in the Royal Navy during World War II. So, everybody's called to serve in a different way, right? And that's the lesson you sometimes learn, about intergenerational things and knowledge and fighting for a good cause or principle is that, everybody's got a different way to their own kind of
you hold no regrets kind of towards the Canadian authorities. I understand the U.S. and their position, and I don't, what they can do what they want. But coming into sovereign territory, non-violent offense, no victims.
Well, here's the thing. Ultimately, even Health Canada sent people to buy their seeds from me because you couldn't get seeds for these legal grows.
I believe even PPS used some of
your
seeds.
All the prairie plant systems are all my seeds. And they called me up to tell me. That's why they said they felt a little bad, because they were seeds from me. They didn't buy them. They were what were taken from me in 1999.
That came out in the Barron case in court. Actually.
Yeah, that's where they got all their seeds from me. So, we were spending lots of money. We invested every cent we ever got. Not only did we give away $4 million for the Supreme Court challenges or ballot initiatives in Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, Washington, Alaska. Oh man, we were giving money. The class action suits in Philadelphia. Man, we had a battle going in all fronts. When you look at the old Seattle news coverage, and you see the people from the Department of Justice with a big red star, Vancouver, and an arrow going to the United States that's got all these cannabis leagues, you can see it wasn't just the cannabis seeds, the genetics. We were providing money to all these places to have, elections and ballot initiatives and class action suits and rallies and marches and
And
global
that's why the
marijuana.
DEA said when he was arrested, the marijuana legalization lobbyists have one less pot of money to rely on.
And it was a big pot. In those days, I was giving about $500,000 away, and then we were spending a lot of money on other things there, like Pot TV. Talked $12,000 to $15,000 a month in streaming because why nobody did it, and nobody could figure out a way to make it pay because it didn't pay. All we did is put our seeds ads on and show a lot of grows as well. If that constitutes advertising, basically we invested nearly $1 million in Pot TV for no expected return. We never got any money. Right now, everybody takes it for granted video because YouTube came by with flash technology, and that made everything like so amazingly ordinary. Anybody can make a video, but we used to spend $15,000 a month just on bandwidth alone, so people would watch, the Grow Show with Greg or any of these people.
The classics.
The
and a
classics.
lot of our classics.
Before I could come up with my license and say, hey, I do this stuff, I have to be in the background. So yeah, the classics.
Yeah, a lot
for
of
me.
those videos were what pulled me into this movement, and we're uploading them now
Including
to
the
YouTube.
famous one with Dana Larson taking LSD. That
that's
happens
a
to be one of the
that's
most
another
profound
famous, yeah.
videos ever done about a psychedelic experience. It's just totally riveting.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
educational.
unfortunate it cost his career.
Yes,
but-
because he took it and went for a walk. Essentially, there was no risk to anyone at any time.
Was it a walk or a drive? I thought they claimed it.
No.
He
He-
drove
he-
beforehand.
No, he was smoking
And then
marijuana.
they just manipulated
He
it.
was smoking marijuana in that case.
Oh.
By the time he did DMT, the trip was gone. It only lasts 8 minutes. You're totally fine. But he was smoking a joint at the time, and this sort of thing is. But of course, as he's done in the great show he did when he smoked pot and drove on country roads to see if he was impaired, right? Type of thing. It's a great show too. All his those are really remarkable shows. And what they show is an enlightened character, but nobody cares about. Not a single person who criticized him probably ever watched those shows, or they'd realize that's amazing stuff.
I think those of us that are deep enough in the cannabis culture remember the roots and how it started.
Well, you can
And,
still see those. I bet.
we
I don't
can
know
all-
if
we
those
can
are
all
hidden.
go-
I think those are still available now. We've got so many of our classics going up on YouTube in the last month. Some amazing stuff.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately on just kind of off base here. I'm just going to touch off for a second on the YouTube channel being taken down. I know there's been an explanation. I just haven't actually. looked
It was
up yet.
bizarre, but what happened is our web server finally decided to upload all the remaining Pot TV videos.
Yeah, we
onto
found a
YouTube.
way that all of the videos could be uploaded in a batch, but we had already had warnings for music copyright violation.
Oh.
So as soon as they caught music in one of those videos, but it was beyond our control because the
Our machine
computer
was
just
uploading them
uploading
automatically,
them.
but the thing is, in the old days, before YouTube, nobody worried about whether copyright music. So we'd have a Bob Marley song playing for a whole background, right? And the thing is, as soon as we did that, we got, bam, within seconds, multiple warnings, 3 warnings, and then it was canceled. If you get 3 warnings and it continues to happen, well, it was happening automatically by a machine setting all these things up. So we probably got 3 immediate warnings within half an hour, and it still kept uploading, so they just cut us off, right? Because they have scanners now that can detect any kind of proprietary
It's
product.
such a shame we had over 10,000 subscribers and over 300 videos since
Oh,
we
no, I was
started
one of
that.
those subscribers.
Yeah, well, you can subscribe now, but yeah, it's unfortunate that a
We're
lot.
building up again with
Yep.
YouTube/Pot TV Network.
And
Yeah, because they don't really give you an explanation or a chance to repent or anything.
I've even tried to get a hold of the YouTube team on different occasions over copyright stuff,
Yeah.
and I can't even get a hold of them to talk to somebody or to get a response really.
Well, there's no talking. I don't know anybody who's been able to ever talk to YouTube.
Yeah. So.
Isn't that the Google people now?
Well, I don't know
Yeah,
how
they're
all
together.
that's working, but I know that we want to start putting our movies on our website once we get off the ground, because now they're giving out 3 big websites.
So make sure you tell everybody, yeah, I'm telling you, send me letters and send me books if I'm sent to the United States. There'll be always a list of books you can send Mark or letters to send Mark on the front of cannabisculture.com.
Well, we'll create that
But my
freemark.ca.
8th podcast, podcast number 8, talks about the books I would like to receive in future in jail and subjects and what have you. So I got to
And
send,
we'll
a lot
run
of
a
very
link to that
complex.
across the bottom. Sorry, Mark. We'll
Yeah.
run a link to that across the bottom. I'll make sure that I get that before we leave, so people can dial into that
Yeah.
and certainly reach out to Mark and show our support. This is a man who's put his life into this for all of us, and we as Canadian patriots can at least show some favoritism back. Win, lose, or draw, this is still a Canadian civilian being extradited for a non-violent crime out of his own country for some seeds.
And what kind of crime is it too? Like when you're talking about sending seeds. I mean, the funny thing is the one book you can always get in every jail is a Bible, right? And you look at Genesis and it's so clear that it says take all this grass and these seed-bearing herbs and, make multiply them, make good use of them, spread them around. I said it's all good. God says it's all good. And it's repeated too. And God looked upon it and it was all good, right? So you wonder, well, where do these exceptions come in? Why doesn't